congratulations on your ASC award nomination. You were a 2022 Rising Star, and now you're nominated for an ASC award. What's that like?
I mean, it's totally thrilling. Yeah, dream come true. I just couldn't believe it when, it was like I had sort of even spaced out that like they were announcing the nominations, and then suddenly my phone was blowing up with people texting me, and yeah, it was all very surreal and very thrilling.
Awesome. Well, I'd love to talk about, your work on this show. How did you get brought on to begin with?
So I interviewed with the director, with Geeta Patel, but and ultimately she was the one who hired me. But before that, actually, it was Fabian Wagner, who was the lead DP, who put my name forward. And I'd never met Fabian. I didn't know him, but he called me up out of the blue to say, hey, I'm starting this new show, and one of the directors is looking for a DP. Can I put your name forward? And I said, yeah, yes, please.
That's
And
wonderful. So had he
yeah,
seen something specific in your work that made him want to put you forward?
I guess so. Yeah, yeah. I've asked him this question since, and he said that, people had recommended me, and then he checked out my stuff, and yeah. So it was it was definitely one of those lucky break phone calls, I guess. And then when I met Geeta on Zoom, we got along like a house on fire immediately. I think the call like lasted, an hour and a half, 2 hours,
Uh-huh.
and and then she gave me the job.
That's wonderful.
Yeah, it's
Yeah, so there is something rare about House of the Dragon that it's just on a scale that so many things on television aren't. What's it like coming on to shoot something on such a grand scale?
Yeah, well, I'd never shot anything, so big before. I'd been on anyway, I'd been on a Marvel show, but doing like, C camera operating, visual effects unit, director of photography stuff. So that was a similar scale, but this anyway, this is it's very exciting stuff. It's very exciting stuff to walk onto the set of the throne room for the first time and realize how massive it is. Um I'd be working with, we had in our episode, our sort of challenging scenes were really just these like huge numbers of principal cast, who have these like, big sort of emotional moments. And anyway, we have the dinner table scene and the throne room scene, and that's where we spent sort of a lot of time trying to figure out, you know anyway, typically best places to put the camera, whose point of view to be in when and where, and that kind of thing. So it's at the end of the day, it's you can scale up from the dramatic work that you're used to doing, and so that's what you do, and you shoot with one more camera or two more cameras than you're used to shooting with, and you're still pushing light through windows, but the windows are twice as tall as they normally are, so you're using twice as much light. Like at the end of the day, I think it is just a sort of like multiplication problem, but it's the concepts are still, and how you approach things are still very much, at least how I like to do it, how Geeta likes to do it, is very much like from a character and story perspective.
Yeah. Yeah, and I feel like that makes it seem a little bit less overwhelming. That it's like, yeah, it's just a multiplication problem. We just need a massive amount of light because we're dealing with such a grand scale. Yeah, you talked about the fact that your episode that's nominated has a lot of emotional scenes in it. Is there something that you're most proud of that you accomplished?
Yeah, we definitely put, again, those two scenes that happen towards the end of our episode, which are quite long scenes that feature much of the principal cast. We put a lot of our prep time effort into figuring out, best way to block those scenes, best way to shoot those scenes. For me, like when the king enters the throne room and crosses the room, that was something that, because on the script page it just says like, and the king enters or whatever, but
Yeah.
but obviously for us it was this massive moment that means so many things to so many different people in the room. And so we we plotted that out sort of very carefully how that would work. But on the day, like, Patty also gave this incredible performance that that meant that, because in my head, I was like, how long will we be able to sustain, what that's like, this very slow walk across a very big room, but then his performance was so great. And anyway, so that scene, I loved shooting that scene, and it is one of my favorite scenes in the show, long story short.
Is there a particular I don't know, lesson that you learned from House of the Dragon that you were like, okay, this is something that for sure I'm gonna bring with me into all of my next work? I mean, there's probably a lot of things, but just something that you want to share.
There's definitely a lot of things. I mean, one thing that I hadn't done so extensively before was, working very closely with the special effects department, using all of their flame effects as lighting sources. So that's something that, I basically observed, because we started a little bit later than everybody else. So everybody had been shooting for a bit, which let us sort of take a look and see how they were approaching things. And definitely the emphasis was using, when there was a fire in the scene, or a flaming torchia or whatever, to really use those real sources and to supplement them with other, special effects, whatever it is, witches' fingers or fishtails or whatever. So I'd done some of that, but I definitely dove in headfirst to the real flame sources as lighting tools on this, which I thought was really fun, and I definitely brought it to my next project. Yeah.
Are there any of the other nominees' work, whether it's other TV shows, films, what have you, that really inspired you creatively this year that you'd like to give a shout out to?
Oh, well, I mean, I just want to shout out all my friends who are nominated, which is exciting. But yeah, obviously Alejandro Martinez, who's also from House of the Dragon, nominated for the Green Council episode 9. I loved his episode. I'm psyched for him. My old AFI buddies, Todd Van Hazel's nominated, Andrew Wheeler's nominated. I'm super psyched for him. Jesse Feldman was one of the very first camera assistants who I ever worked for a million years ago. So Wow. It's very cool that we're both nominated in the same year. So yeah, it's going to be like old home week, basically. And I have to say, I'm also really excited that there's so many women nominated this year. We've almost got representation in every category almost. So that's really cool. And two of the women, Ula Ponticas and Kate McCulloch, are my Illuminatrix sisters, which is a collective in the UK that is for cinematographers who are based over here. So yeah, that's really exciting. And Mandy Walker obviously is always such a huge inspiration to me. So yeah, I'm really looking forward to the whole thing. I just want everybody to win.